I was just notified that we're having some streaming issues, so our live feed right now will not be streaming as live. The meeting will be recorded, and it will be posted according to the end of the meeting, and then hopefully they fix the streaming as we proceed. So, Trustee Watts?
I'd like to call the Committee of the Whole meeting to order at 7:02. I'd like to make a motion to consider approval of the minutes of the Committee of the Whole meeting held on April 10, 2019.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Number 3, discuss board's position on new gaming license requests. So you want to take that, Jake?
Thank you, Trustee Watts. Looks like we got some technical errors going on. Some feedback, maybe? Well, we're going to proceed on. I appreciate the board allowing for the opportunity to have this discussion this evening regarding the village's current ordinance in place for video gaming requests, as well as several liquor requests within the community. The board was given in their packet a list of businesses that have submitted requests, as well as some background history regarding the ordinance, regarding the practice that the village has put in place to bring the requests to the board. The purpose of today's conversation is to continue that openness to work with the board, and also to develop a plan so that the mayor's office and the liquor commissioner's office can adequately respond to the petitioners that are requesting various items. So, that being said, you've had an opportunity to look through the packet, I presume. Willing to take questions regarding the open items that the village has regarding the requests, as well as open the floor up for discussion from the policymakers here to give me some clarification on how you feel about video gaming, but also how to proceed moving forward. I'd just like to mention that I do appreciate that we do have some business owners that are in the audience today that have submitted requests. They've been waiting patiently for this. I've asked them to be patient with us as we transition into a new board, and then also asked them if they'd like to give have any communication or dialogue with you as board members, that they'd have the opportunity to do that as well. So I will turn it back over to the chairman of the Committee of the Whole and allow for deliberation.
Anyone have any questions?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Mayor, would you mind describing the current vetting process that you guys are using as the liquor commissioner and
Sure.
gaming commissioner?
So the practice has been from predecessors that when a request is submitted to the liquor commissioner's office, they had request either a proposal letter or a business plan, if they're an existing business, to send over the reasoning for why they were putting in the request for video gaming. From that point, the mayor would review that plan and communicate back with the petitioner whether or not they would be willing to or able to proceed to the village board. From that point, the mayor would make a recommendation to the board to allow for the request, and then it would be voted on by the committee. It'd be brought to a committee meeting like we're doing this evening. This is a committee of the whole, or it could be brought to a committee meeting, whether it be finance or legal and admin. It'd be discussed and then be placed on a village board meeting.
And was there any specific policies or?
There's not, and that's actually kind of why I wanted to have this conversation. In all fairness to the requests that are coming in, I didn't feel that it was my duty to be the one to be selective over what businesses could proceed and what couldn't. So I wanted there to be some black and white policy put forth by this administration so that myself and my staff could adequately respond to the petitions.
Anything else, Mike? As far as myself goes, I'm all in favor of enclosed space. I don't like the half walls personally. Also, I don't think you could really just make a policy and say, hey, this guy gets it, this guy doesn't. For me personally, it's a case-by-case basis. I've supported a couple of them, not all of them, for different reasons. I also don't feel comfortable that the businesses are waiting board direction. I completely understand where you're coming from, Jake, but they, for me, it's everyone, I don't know how they feel, but for me, everything's on a case-by-case basis, and they all have an opportunity. They can apply for the license and go through the process. I mean, there's been applications that have passed that I thought wouldn't. There's been ones that have failed that I thought would. So some of it, I think it's kind of hard to just pick and choose. Maybe just, like you said, let the process take its course.
A lot of it has, I mean, to answer your question, a lot of it has been a learning curve. A lot of it has been finding efficiencies so that we could streamline some of these situations. And if I could just back up a second, back to what Trustee Mueller had brought up, I think the practice that this village has set forth when it comes to the ordinance, by not capping it but raising it upon request is really the best scenario for this village, because it does give us the opportunity to, if there is that business that this village board is looking for that we want to put into a certain location, and they are requesting video gaming, we have an opportunity to bring it, discuss it, and then raise the bar on the request. So I think the practice in itself is fine. I just need some direction if it's okay, because I know you guys are probably overwhelmed with the amount of requests, and that happens on a monthly basis. There are literally that many requests. If the board is okay with it, I'm completely fine with telling every person that comes through that wants to put in a submission and request to petition the board for video gaming that we could do it, and you guys could deliberate it. I don't want to be the one to be the one to pick and choose that. So if you guys, if there's policy set forth by you, Dominic and myself will certainly apply that to how we vet the situation.
If the board chooses to go that way, that's fine, but you're the liquor commissioner, and I think you've done a pretty good job on vetting the ones that have come forward. I don't think it's always been a slam dunk no or yes. So I think that process works.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of hard. There's so many different variables that we've discussed on these meetings that you'd be against it, but for this reason, you're for it.
Right.
So it kind of changes your thinking depending on.
There's certainly a lot more unusual requests, I would say, now more than ever.
And unfortunately, that's what's changed. I think sticking to how you've been doing it, I think works. I think it has worked. Like I said, I voted for some that I was against, just because once they're in
The
front of you.
situation applied.
Yes.
Okay. How does the board feel on the direction that we laid out? Obviously, the people that are here, they have a request, they're wanting to proceed to the next board meeting. So if there's something that I could do to help that situation, it'd be fair for me to go on the record and just kind of point out my viewpoint on gaming. I'm not a very big gambler myself. I could appreciate the entertainment value of it. I think that there are scenarios where it does look a little tacky in particular businesses. But then again, as a business person myself, I don't believe that it's my position to tell a business whether or not that is going to be a good thing for their business. If that's what they want to believe in, I believe that we should allow them to make that decision for themselves. So I just, for the record, I mean, to say that I'm pro video gaming or pro gaming or any type of gambling, I think it's kind of a difficult way to say yes or no to, but that I do appreciate and understand the business side of it, but also in the governmental side of it, as policymakers, I think that it's our duty to make sure that we're making the quality of life here in Tinley Park the best that it can be for its residents. And obviously, there's a very fine line that we're walking when it comes to how we proceed with these terminals. So, as I opened up, I appreciate the opportunity to bring it before you. It sounds like there's some direction on how Dominic and I could proceed with these. We're going to streamline them in regards to when a request comes in. I think we'll vet it, we'll send it off to the board, we'll get it on a committee, and then you guys could proceed with how you'd like. Is there any questions or comments regarding that?
No, just like I said, personally, for me, they have to be in enclosed space. I'll use a perfect example of a no vote I made, Jake, was Rocco's. It's completely against high-end restaurant like that having gaming. I voted no. We visit Rocco's frequently. Knowing how it's set up and in that back room and enclosed, you don't even know it's there. there's not a sign. If that case came in front of me again, I would vote yes. So for me, it's based on, it's not open to the public, we don't have neon signs in the windows.
If there's, I know that the attorney has looked at that as well as community development when it comes to your constitutional rights as for freedom of speech and how we regulate signage. And I agree with you on that. That's the tacky part of it, right? I think that nobody wants to drive by and see the flashing lights, 777s and the flags outside, gaming here. They have rights, and we need to protect those. But in the same regard, we have an opportunity, I believe, to enforce our village codes when it comes to those flags outside. Those are temporary flags. They have to apply for permits for that, and we should be regulating that. So if they're not doing it, then we need to make sure that they're following in compliance. What was your other point you brought up? Sorry.
About capping them, or? Was it?
Oh, no, the walling off and private, making the rooms private. I would completely agree with your assertion on that. The state has a very lax code when it comes to that. It says there needs to be a separation or a barrier. A couple different ways to view, or to define that. I mean, a barrier, like a lot of places use a rope wall as a barrier, and I think we all know that that's not what we want. I think we have some opportunity to make that part of our ordinance. If that's something that the board or the committee wants to consider, I'm all for it. If there is a way that we could, do that via our codes, I would consider that for sure.
Granted, though, a bar is totally different. Anyone that's where children are, I think that we need to separate it. So, I don't know. Trustee Brady or,
I'd agree with you.
okay, Trustee Brennan, anything to add?
My only question, Mr. Chairman, is is there any, Counselor, maybe you would have an idea of what some of the surrounding towns, what ordinances look like for them? If we could get some information that, maybe surrounding towns may have.
Sure, and I'll talk generally. First, on the mayor's point about the signage, I think every town in the state at one point or another has probably asked their village attorney to get rid of video gaming signage, and nobody has done it. We can't do it. It's a legal use. It's here to stay. It's here to stay in the state, and we can't regulate based on content. As far as what other towns do, I mean, everything from the price or the tax that's charged on them is, there's a high, there's a low. But you as a home rule community, you do have that authority to put in some extra things like enclosed spaces and things like that. So, and I'm sure other towns have them. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but again, you have the ability to go above and beyond what the state does.
The flashing lights, so we don't have to allow that, though.
No, I mean, that's a part of our code.
I don't think we allow flashing lights.
We don't.
anywhere.
It's just, you didn't touch, I just want to make sure, Bill.
Okay.
Trustee Galante?
My only thing is, one, I wouldn't want to see it around where kids are, saying, wall it off. I think it's adult entertainment, and I think it should stay that way. And when you guys are looking at maybe coming up with some of those percent of, how much is the business earning from their main business compared to video gaming?
Yeah.
Because, we want to make sure the product that we offer is the best, to our village, and what are they offering? I would want to make sure that their main business is their main business. And then the years of how long have they sustained in our business, in our town already without video gaming? Because if their main income is video gaming, then I don't know what else, what is it really offering?
Great points, and I think our code does mandate that there be some type of real food service.
Yeah, I mean, it's very specific with the square footage. It demands that there be a restaurant with a menu and does serve food. And I mean, those are 100% valid points, and that's part of the vetting process. It's kind of what, if you want to quote unquote, the way that I would review the request, the petition would be to find out whether or not this is a viable business based on providing something other than gaming. And that's kind of been our mentality, I say ours, meaning the village board's mentality, since we had a couple of gaming cafes come through the village. I mean, we set the bar at that by saying, we're not really gonna accept that as a business entity any longer. So I think the structure, the foundations are all in place. You know, and hats off to the predecessors before. I mean, this was, when video gaming came through the state and it was legalized, I mean, there was a lot going on, and they held off. I know Brad will give us a little history on it. But back to your point, Trustee Galante, is that when when the submission comes in of the request, that I do take that into full regard, and that would be definitely part of the vetting process of the committee. Trustee, or
Yes,
Treasurer
Mr.
Beckhoff.
Mayor, I just would like to point out that with the inquiries that have come in, there is a requirement with the state statutes that video gaming is restricted to a place that serves poured alcohol, poured drinks. And I think there's at least one inquiry here of a packaged liquor store that would not by itself qualify.
Correct.
So,
Thank you. Again, back to the unusual requests. The other thing I would mention, Mr. Chairman, if I may, and it hasn't really been discussed, is the dollars and cents that this brings to the village. I think the word that not a lot of politicians would want to hear would be taxation and raising taxes, and that's something that the board this village board has done a fair job of never even approaching. This revenue being a user tax, so it's actually something from the terminal fee all the way down to the person that's using the machine, drastically injects revenue into our budget. And those monies are utilized for all the free events that we host downtown. It goes into our marketing budget. It helps with the music in the park, et cetera. I mean, these are revenues that we would, if this board were to draw a line and have a hard no on, moving forward in our budget, we'd have to look for other sources of revenue to continue to provide that quality of life and the service that our residents have come to know. So I just wanted not to throw that out there as a cliffhanger. I wanted you to be aware that it's not because we're looking at the dollars and cents as the reasoning why we consider video gaming to be a part of our community.
And Brad would be upset. And Brad would be upset.
And Brad would lose some revenue and become upset, correct?
Trustee Berg.
Oh, I think it's a great economic engine, and I wouldn't want to divide anyone the business opportunity that it provides for us. There's no lie about that. I do feel that it should be walled off a little better. I did have a hard time with the Mickeys, with the kids in there. But again, I'm not going to deny a business opportunity to anyone in the village. So I think that we've been doing a great job. It's just, I feel like they're coming all hard and fast now, and it just seems like a bigger problem than it really is.
Yeah. Part of that, you brought up Mickey's and like back to the point of vetting the request, and businesses that have been here for multiple years, decades. I mean, Mickey's being one of them, made a large investment in their business on Oak Park Avenue. I mean, they're getting beaten by our county taxes and our state taxes, and they're trying to survive. So back to the business side of it, completely agree. It's a restaurant that I bring my kids to, and back to your point of not wanting to have a barrier of some sort, wanting to have a barrier of some sort. But the economics for the business, in order to keep them, they need to offset their revenue. So I get it on their end, I get it on our end, and I just need to find a happy medium. And it sounds like there's at least some direction here that we could go with, so.
The
Again,
state gets it on their end. The state gets it on their end.
the state's getting it on their end. Anything they could do to find money, so. That's all I have. Any other questions from?
Yeah, I had one more.
Yeah, go ahead.
I wouldn't mind seeing something out of the mayor's office on a monthly basis that just kind of showed what that vetting process was.
Sure.
How many applicants we received, just so that we could see what those numbers are over time.
We've already started that process, and I could tell you that the new assistant to the mayor has come in with some great ideas. We're gonna try it on a bi-weekly process, that you're gonna get a memo that's everything that's going on in the mayor's office, whether it be video gaming requests, liquor requests, meetings, et cetera, events that we've done, or that we're doing or scheduled. Those are gonna be coming to you so that you understand that, everything that our office is working on, you're gonna have a copy of that as well. So thank you for bringing that up. It's a good idea.
If that's it, I'm gonna do this a little different instead of waiting till the end. Any of the business owners are here that are looking to apply? If you would like to speak, that'd be great, since we have the whole board here. Go ahead, step up to the mic.
Want me to just explain, or?
Go right ahead.
We are looking to do a place called Union, and it's gonna be a restaurant in Tinley. We already have acquired the space, and the lease. We're basically looking at the gaming as an opportunity to match what the competitors already have in town. We would be in a private section, like you're discussing, of the place. But the sole income, the main income, would come off of the restaurant and the bar. So in this situation, we're looking in the San Fratello's Mall. It's the old tanning salon that's on the end cap, which it was a 7-Eleven originally. We're investing, it's about $500,000 into the community to open this place. And this will be our 4th business in Tinley since '97. And we're going to basically offer the best quality products that we possibly can. And if the revenue is there altogether, it allows us to pay our staff better as well. With that being said, we're excited to have a chance to do business in Tinley one more time.
So you said you're in the San Fratello's, so that's the tanning place was the N unit, right?
The end cap. So we'd be we're going to gut the entire place and put an epoxy floor and spray the ceiling, and it's going to cost about a little over $500,000 to do the whole thing.
Joe, and Mr. Chairman, if I can, just briefly, this is one of those unusual requests, and it's not unusual based off the business, but a little history is that prior to San Fratello's being approved for the fitness center, there was a restaurant that had opened in Tinley and was also looking at a secondary location, and they were working towards the San Fratello's location, and the board had approved them 2 licenses for liquor and video gaming. They have since obviously only stayed where they're at. San Fratello's is now going to become a fitness center, and the restaurant bar that the Strip Plaza desperately needs to draw people there is now Joe's business, the Union. So I say that because it was already, that area was already prescribed, so to speak, or granted a liquor license in video gaming. Obviously, this is a different petitioner, and we get that. I just wanted you to be aware of the history, that there was a petition that was put in for a business in that Strip Plaza, and the board had vetted it, looked at it, and approved it based off of location. So, not that it has much bearing on your decision-making, I just wanted you to be aware of the history.
No, that was also one of my few yes votes.
Correct.
Because of, I mean, there's a lot of open spaces in that mall.
Yeah, it's vacant.
That mall needs, a little kickstart, and that's another reason why I supported it. The guy said he was gonna open 2 if we gave him both. He got the one and he never opened the second one.
Understood.
That kind of bothered me, but, so yeah, but this is, like you just said, Jake, these are the odd situations where don't fall under normal criteria. I would have no problem with something like this, going through committee, but
I appreciate it.
that's up to the liquor commissioner.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you, Joe. Appreciate you
Thank
coming.
you. Else?
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Good luck.
Anyone else?
I'd like to speak, Chairman, I'd like to speak about a liquor license if possible.
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
My name's Robert Sanfilippo, 29-year veteran and resident of Tinley Park. We're applying for a liquor license for Whistle Events and Catering, which is a separate business from the Whistle Sports Bar and Grill. We are not interested in gaming. We're interested in getting open space, which is desperately needed for banquets, showers, weddings, birthday parties, which has been lacking in Tinley. So what we're taking the space on 159th in front of the Whistle, which is a desperately needed open space. The landlord has agreed to put a decent sum of money into painting and getting the strip mall back into shape. It's kind of run down. I don't know if you guys know where it is. It's on 150, okay? We are actually going to be a separate LLC from the Whistle. We're just using the name for event purposes. So we got an agreement with that, but they're going to be actually looking for the liquor license strictly without a gaming license at this time.
So the Whistle people would have,
I'm the investor in the business, and Stephanie McSell and my sister are going to be the managers. They're going to be running events and catering out of there. The Whistle has basically the separate entity itself.
okay, so the owners of the Whistle will not be involved in this?
No,
They will,
Mark McSell is the owner of the Whistle.
okay.
His wife and my sister will be managing it. I am the sole investor in the business.
Okay. Thanks.
Any questions?
No, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Burke?
Hi there, my name is Burke Mattias. I own the Pops in Tinley Park. And as of a couple of years ago, I tried applying for the gaming. And I just think now, before it was recreational, now I think it's a necessity. With the minimum wage getting to be raised up to about $15 by 2025, it's kind of hard for a small business to survive. So I'm looking for the gaming as well as the liquor. But the gaming, I also agree as far as it has to be partitioned off, because mine is kind of known as a family restaurant, but I want to keep staying. I've been in business 10 years there, and it's getting harder and harder. So I'd like to keep the business going, but I also understand, keep it separate.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions for him?
No. You'll have another opportunity when it's brought to committee or a board meeting for further
Okay.
discussion.
Thank you.
Thanks, Burke.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Did you bring any beef sandwiches?
Next meeting, I promise.
Any other liquor?
I think that's it. Oh, Paul, sorry, I didn't see you sneak in.
How you doing? My name is Paul Spass. I'm the owner of Primal Cut Steakhouse here in Tinley Park. You know, so this was a battle with myself for the last 2 years on exactly what the representation of gaming, you know, entails, you know, and what you look like as a restaurant, as a cafe, as a business. That's why I was battling back with it for the last 2 years on, you know, my decision to move forward with it. It was back and forth with many people, you know, some people loved this, some people didn't, you know. I agree with Trustee Glotz. I think it should be, you know, hidden. I've applied for a license. I don't want to see the flashing lights. I don't want to see signs. I don't want to see flags. You know, I'm not a fan of the gaming cafes. I think it was designed for full-service businesses who sell food, who sell liquor, have a restaurant. You know, that's my position as far as you know, what it should be like. This business is a very tough business. I'm grateful to be here, surviving 2 years, but it's the margins are really minimal as I start to see over the last 2 years. So that's why I'm looking to, you know, add a little additional revenue to the restaurant and continue to add on. That's pretty much it. But I agree with mine. The location is going to be in the side. There's not going to be anybody, you know, no flashing lights, no advertising, nothing on the windows. If you happen to walk by and see it, it's there, great. If you want to use it, great. It's not going to be the sole source of revenue for our restaurant. So,
Yeah, you've made a huge investment into that corner. I think it's really helped Oak Park with the stuff that's going on. I think it's going to be amazing.
yeah, I mean we're continuing to grow. I got some other ideas with expansion outside of our patio, but for now I'm just kind of holding my ground and just continue to, you know, build revenue. You know, continue to get the support from the village and the clientele. The people are coming from all over. I mean, I was at an event in Rockford with my daughter a couple weeks ago, and so what happened, we got to talking with some couple out there, and they happened to talk about my carrot cake. I mean, I'm just like, you know, so the good work spreads, you know, if you put out a good product, if you put out quality food, then that's how we built our business. I have not spent $1 in marketing and advertising in 2 years. Everything has been word of mouth. It's been hard, it's been difficult, but like I said, if you put out a decent product, people will come. And that's why we're still here and we're still surviving.
If I could ask you, where would you put it?
So we have an office that's run by our managers in the back by the bathroom hallways. So we had the Illinois Gaming Board out, and I know it's kind of a, you know, touchy situation, but they did come out and look at it because supposedly it's supposed to be seen from the bar. But we have a hostess there that's there all day, so it's just off to the side, and currently it's an office.
And they were fine with it?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yep.
And so it's fully enclosed if it's in an office?
correct, yep. So,
That'd be like another.
I mean, like I said, you won't see it from any part of my restaurant, from the bar to the private dining to anything. So that's, and I had people said, oh, why don't you put it up in the front? I didn't want that. You know, if it's there and you happen to see it and you go back and you use it, great. It's not gonna be, like I said, the sole source of our income. It's just gonna be something that's gonna help things, make it a little easier and continue to grow and invest in the town.
Okay. Anyone have any questions for him?
Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
That's all I got. I don't know anybody else here.
Item number 4, discuss radio campaign recommendation. Donna, you want to take that?
Yes, I do, thank you. Several months ago, we applied for a marketing partnership grant through the state of Illinois Bureau of Tourism. And we put a comprehensive campaign together that included encouraging visitors to come to Tinley Park with some digital advertising with a full 6-month radio campaign. The requirement on that grant application is that it has to be marketed to people outside of 50 miles of the community. So we got word last week, Tuesday, that the state has some money this year, and they are willing to grant us some funds. However, the caveat is that it has to be used by June 30th. So we'd like to recommend that we pull out the radio, a 1-month radio advertising component that would include advertising with the Chicago White Sox at their home games, would include radio spots, it would include a video put together by one of their personalities featuring our benches on the avenue, and also include a invitation for our brewers to go down and do a live on-air feed with Rokon through this Canarbo wagon thing they have on Friday afternoons. And essentially what I'd like to recommend is that we move forward with that, which would have us spending $23,000 of our money, matched by a $23,000 grant of the state, from the state, and spend that now and then reapply for the remaining in the state's fiscal year 21.
Super.
So then we did put $50,000 aside this year in anticipation of that, so we would be spending $23,000 of that with your approval.
Any questions?
I just had 2. The timelines are rather tight to get
Yes, they are.
ready for the June 1st date. We're confident that we can hit those.
Yes.
And then secondly what was our potential reach with that $23,000?
It has to be outside of 50 miles, so the measures are going to be a little bit difficult, but we're going to do some social media advertising as a part of it. The radio station has some analytics that we'll be able to measure as well as our own. So
But did they have any expectations of how many customers we'd be reaching with that money?
not since it's the first time that we're doing it. I mean, they have numbers, yeah, it was in that presentation, some of their numbers that they think that we will reach, but they don't have, they did not provide actual
Okay.
solid numbers on a quantity of people. It's more of a reach throughout a 5-state region.
Perfect, thank you.
Anybody else? So you're looking for us to move it to the board?
Actually, I'm looking for an approval now so that we could get it going and meet that deadline.
Yeah, but we'll have to move it to the board then.
23,000 is within the budget. Does the manager have
He already
authority?
has 20,000.
What's the nature of your agreement?
23,
Is it over?
23,000.
23,000.
Over there.
There's a
Mayor's
reason.
23.3.
Managers.
Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, this was an unusual situation because of the tight time frame, and it's not on the board agenda, but I think we're hoping for a motion tonight just to support it so we can,
Could start working on it,
yeah.
and then approval at the next board meeting
That's until June 4th.
for an expenditure of funds. I mean, you could give direction to go ahead and proceed with working on the
Right.
marketing material for it,
Sure.
and then just do an
I'm sure
expenditure of funds.
I'm sure there's an in-house component of this.
Oh, yeah.
Where the funds are gonna go.
Yeah.
I think you're in an emergency situation. This doesn't get
Yes.
done. If you wanna do this, I think you give the manager authority to go ahead and ratify.
Okay, I'll make a motion to give you approval, and we'll ratify it on June 4th. I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Cindy.
You want to set a number in there? No, it doesn't matter.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Number 5, receive comments from the public. Thanks, Pat. Anyone like to address the committee of the whole committee? Let the record reflect there are none. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn at 7:36 PM. I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. We gotta wait a couple
Take a
minutes.